Ayan na mga kameta, kamusta kayo dyan? Ang gulo. Kung umaga pa lang, 4 a.m. pa lang, nakita natin na may mga updates dyan sa Brazil. May gulo dyan sa Brazil. Sinugod na yung Presidential Palace, yung Kongreso ng mga Bolsonarista, mga supporters ng dating, ano nila, yung mga tatay style populist, Trump style populist nila ni Jair Bolsonaro. So yun yung gulo. Umaga pa lang, yun yung gulo. Ay hindi man lang sila original, ginaya pa nila yung Trump na January 6 Trumper supporters. By the afternoon of today, na-confirma no, yung rumors, no, actually over the weekend pa, you had some people asking me kung totoo ito. And I try to also confirm it around itong rumor na magre-resign na rin yung now acting officer-in-chief of the Department of National Defense, former General Jose Faustino Jr. So wala, may bago na tayong defense secretary. And this is interesting because it's raising a lot of questions about saan papuntang Pilipinas. And for me, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that this is not happening in isolation. Now, obviously, kailangan natin ng more in detailed discussion dun sa supposed destabilization plot, supposed investigation, what's happening with the AFP, why there was the sudden change dun sa leadership ng Armed Forces of the Philippines, bakit binalik yung dating AFP chief bigla ngayon. So that in itself is a topic that we have to discuss in detail as more information comes in. So I don't want to jump into conclusions without verifying information. Kaya nga nung weekend, ay hindi ko na minention itong rumors na magre-resign na si Defense Secretary, ex-Defense Secretary or acting Officer of Chief officer in charge ng defense ng Department of National Defense natin kasi nga hindi ko pa na confirm. For me it was still an unsubstantiated rumor, but as we saw na skip niya yung ceremony yata, there was a skipping of the ceremony of the new military chief. So there were already considerations, there were already concerns na baka hindi lang siya rumors, and today we had the confirmation na eto na, we officially now have a new person in charge of the Department of National Defense who actually happens to be a former AFP chief and also former top cabinet member under the Duterte administration. So yun ang very interesting thing that we have to keep in mind, mga kameta, no? For me, before going into this issue in detail, and as I said, caveat lang natin dito mga kameta, hintayin natin in more details about this because ayoko magsalita ng walang basihan, no? I don't want to contribute to any disinformation, misinformation, etc. We're just here to keep you guys updated on what things you have to research on your own, no? So we're just trying to have an educated analysis and opinion on a very rapidly developing issue, very sensitive issue, no? So kaya we have to be very careful about what we say about these things, what we share about these things. So a lot of caveat and word of caution, no? Now, for me, the reason why I was not surprised that there will be yet again another resignation dito sa kabinete ni Marcos Jr. is precisely because of what happened over the past 6 months. No? Nakita natin guys, over the past 6 months, ang dami mga resignations na nangyari. Now, of course, to be fair, a lot of them had to do with the fact na hindi nagkaroon ng Commission on Appointments confirmation ng mga cabinet members na yan. Some of them multiple times, but we have people like, I think, for instance, the current Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Pascual, who I think was bypassed twice, but still, no? Andun pa rin siya sa kabinete. But a lot of other cabinet members were let go of or they had to engage in mass resignations because of, well, at least officially because hindi sila nakumpirma ng commission appointments. But as I said, we have a case of a cabinet member who was bypassed, I think, not, twice at least, and it nandun pa rin nire-reappoint ng ating presidente kasi naniniwala siya sa kanyang kakayahan, no? So let's look at the bigger picture first. Why I was not surprised when the first rumor came out, I didn't say much about it, but I was also not totally surprised because of what we have been seeing over the past 6 months. No, so of course President Marcos Jr. came to power promising unity. Ito na mga ka-unity, mga excited dyan, mga ka-unity. Promise a new era of prosperity, new era of stability, especially after 6 years of Tatay-style politics and all of yung mga kakulangan ng mga dati mga administrations, reformist, liberal, populist, all of them. And yet, what we see is kind of a Shakespearean kind of court politics here na kung saan parang medyo magulo, no? So, for instance, of course, it started first dun, no, ilan months pa lang si Pangulong Marcos, eto na, biglang nagdagsa ilan members ng cabinet niya well, I'm not sure, well, at least this report says some of them were kicked out, but a lot of them were resigning, no? So, ang kasama dyan, of course, yung dating press secretary, Pero kasama din dyan yung dating executive secretary, someone very close to the president, someone who was his spokesman, his chief confidant during the elections, and not only these latest elections, but also through the aftermath and of the previous 2016 election. So I'm talking about, of course, Vic Rodriguez, no? So tatlong nawala kaagad. This is by October. And then more recently nakita natin by December nawala rin yung iba. For instance, DSW Secretary Erwin Tulfo was once again was bypassed by the Commission of Payments, so pina-resign siya, so someone else ay pina-replace sa kanya. For me, honestly, I was a bit disappointed with this because I was hoping to keep someone as proactive and definitely dedicated as Erwin Tulfo in a position as important as DSW, considering how he performed actually in response to multiple crises early in office for President Marcos Jr. No, so I was a little bit disappointed with that, but we see a trend line na kung saan ang dami na walang cabinet member ilan months pa lang, which is not what we saw under President Duterte. In fairness, under President Duterte, the cabinet was very much complete early on. Yes, certain cabinet members, especially more progressive ones, were eased out later on. Nevertheless, this is quite surprising because we had a president who was promising us talagang unity and all of that. And in fairness naman to his cabinet, it also includes some members of cabinet of former presidents, including reformist president like President Aquino. There are some people who supported a different candidate in the last elections, including Lenny, or ended up kind of in cabinet, sub-cabinet position. I appreciate it, but ang gulo parang paiba-iba, parang ang dami natatanggal. Ilan months pa lang. And then, of course, now very, very senior position. We're talking about Defense Secretary. And one of the things I was asking is, bakit acting Defense Secretary pa rin siya hanggang January? Dapat November pa lang, pwede na siya ma-fully confirm dahil yung retirement age, di ba, hindi ka pwede maging appointed sa civilian position right away kung nakaka-retire mo lang from military, so there's a certain gap kaya acting officers in charge. But by November, we were expecting na ma-finalize yan, and yet, hindi. So January, suddenly we have rumors, next thing we know talaga natanggal na iba na yung ating defense secretary. And these are very senior, important positions. Now, obviously, as I said, as we get more information, we have to talk about other things, including yung situation in terms of civil-military relations, among others. So, ito, no? So, for instance, we have... So, this is what I'm mentioning. So, for instance, Secretary Pascual was bypassed by the Commission on Appointments twice, no? But he's still there because the President, I think, keeps on reappointing him, etc. Pero hindi rin nangyari yan kay... pero kay Tulfo, he was let go and parang he's consultant in DSWD, no? So, hindi na siya in charge of the crucial department. And now you have the Department of National Defense. In fairness naman kay General Galvez, he's a known commodity. In fairness to him, when he was in charge of the AFP, he made some very encouraging statements on the professionalism of the AFP, and AFP not trying to get involved in politics or any kind of plans to create nationwide martial law, etc. So all kudos to him, to our new defense secretary. But I think he needs full approval by the commission on appointments, or maybe President Marcos has someone else in mind. Maybe Gibo wants to come back. Let's see what's going to happen there, because my 1 year, di ba meron din restrictions on the appointments of losing candidates in the last election. So ilan months na lang, pwede na siguro sila ma-appoint nila malapit ng May. So I'm not sure kung settled pa rin yung case sa Department of National Defense. And this is a very, very important position, no, with massive implications for national security. No? Now, one thing that I wanted also to discuss, and I think we have to discuss that more, is also the concerns about civil-military relations. So, one of the good things that happened under the Aquino administration, in fairness to him, not Corazon, but the son, is that, and also under President Ramos, and in case of Ramos, it was very understandable because he was a former military chief and defense secretary. Well, the thing is, ito yung mga, all of these discussions about plots, destabilizations, etc. Now, again, I'm not giving credence to any of these things. I'm just saying these are the reports that are coming out. And my point is that it really didn't help that the former President Duterte, or at least there was a sense that the President Duterte was trying to kind of tweak the dynamics of civil-military relations. And that's something that I've extensively written on. But according to AFP naman, wala naman destabilization plot. If PNP wants to investigate it, go ahead. But they maintain that there's no destabilization plot. Nonetheless, there are some people asking bakit yung military chief ngayon ng AFP ay binalik na. So this is a story that I'm not yet qualified to give kind of a definitive statement analysis on, because I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. So what I'm saying is that See, you have all of these things, no? What's going on? So, ayon sa AFP naman, fake memo daw yun, yung supposed destabilization plot. But there's still questions as to what happened with the leadership reshuffle sa AFP, no? Because nga, sa ating saligang batas, there is a civilian supremacy over the armed forces, no, to ensure na yung ating democracy ay malakas. At the same time, of course, there is supposed to be professionalization of the armed forces. We have made many strides in this regard. But that also means that there shouldn't be direct political interference by civilian authorities, politically motivated partisan civilian authorities, in terms of disrupting yung professional meritocratic base, change in chain of command dun sa ating sandatahang lakas. So ito yung isang malaking issue. Again, as I said, I don't want to jump into conclusions on this issue. We're still getting more and more information on this. I still want to confirm. Kaya nga sabi ko, nung weekend pa lang alam ko na pwede mag-resign na itong dating defense secretary natin. But I didn't say much about this precisely because I wanted to make more confirmation. So hindi tayo katulad ng mga ibang vloggers na jump lang sa Marites. No? We want to go more than Marites. We want to have more evidence-based discussions. Overall, what I want to say is that sometimes may pagka-feeling na Shakespearean court politics, pag ganyan kagulo na, ang daming cabinet members na nawala. Now, I understand that sometimes it's okay that there's certain flexibility because you don't want also a situation whereby the president sticks to cabinet members no matter how incompetent or no matter how much ayos sila or hindi sila in-appoint or kina-confirm pala, na commission appointments. Yes, there should be some flexibility. But when you have more and more, within 6 months pa lang ang dami na, diba? Then it kind of makes you wonder what's going on. And not to mention, of course, right now, we have a situation whereby yung Department of Health natin, yung in charge ay former number 2 at Department of Health, no? For a long time, yung in charge of the Department of Health was yung former number 2. So there was a lot of delay in terms of appointment of a Department of Health secretary. That was one big concern. Another one was dun sa Department of Agriculture also. In-appoint niyang sarili niya yung presidente. But of course, we all know that he's not really an expert on agricultural policy per se, despite his background in development studies, economics, etc. Although hindi ko alam kung nag-graduate ever from a university. But you need a full-fledged agricultural secretary in charge. So parang in matter of 6 months, ang daming cabinet positions na either nag-resign, so I think at least half a dozen, no, if not more, nag-resign, some would say purge, and in other cases, hindi na-appoint yung talagang full-fledged secretary. We were talking about Department of Health for many months. We're talking about Agriculture Secretary until now. So what's going on here, no? And then of course, at Department of National Defense, dapat ma-appoint pa yung bagong designated person to take charge of the Department of National Defense. So much is going on here. And for me, I don't know. I mean, for me, you want to put politics aside and you want a country you want stability, no? And for me, if the president really wants to bring investments to the country, if the president wants more and more businesses and industries and technological companies, high-tech companies to come to the Philippines, you need to project stability. You need to project leadership. You need to be a little bit hands-on. And you need to also fix some of the problems inherited from the previous administration dun sa mga gulo na nangyari sa civil-military relations. So, for me, I'm not sure the current frequency in the reshuffling, the changes in the cabinet, among others, including very senior cabinet positions, executive secretary now with the DND, also the press secretary, among others. I'm not sure this is very encouraging. I'm not sure this is something that will reflect very well on our country. I'm not sure this is something that will very much encourage our investors and all. Now, I'm not saying na sobrang grabing situation. No, hindi naman. I mean, at least there's rapid, transition, etc. But I'm just saying it's not the best picture. You want to come out. You want to come out ukol sa bansa natin, especially when you have a president who's very gung-ho, traveling all around the world, more than half a dozen visits abroad over the past 6 months, trying to bring investors and all. And let's not forget, guys, lahat ng mga kinukuhang investments ni Pangulong Marcos, mga pledges lang yan. No? These are just pledges of investments, meaning intent or some memorandum of understanding. They're not final agreements. So they're expressions of intent to invest, but obviously big-time investors are gonna look at, magulo ba tong gobyerno na to? Maayos bang gobyerno na to? Magaling bang presidente na to? 'Di ba? Predictable bang policy direction nito, 'di ba? So kung mga top cabinet members may papalit-palit within 6 months, or yung ibang top cabinet positions like Department of Health, ilan months na wala pa rin, final appointee, then that's just not good. That's just not as simple as that, no? So I hope the president, figures out, or at least make sure na this constant reshuffling will stop, because we don't want a kind of a apprentice show. It's interesting yan, but if it's a reality show, yung parang ginagawa ni Trump dati sa White House, but from a perspective of confidence in the country, confidence in leadership, yung brand of the Philippines as a destination for investments, etc., I'm not sure that's the best. Yun lang, mga kameta. Alright, magpasalamat tayo sa mga tao dito. Yeah, you can see this is a very intense topic, no? By the way, hindi ko pala na-post to. Ito yung nangyari sa Brazil. Naku po, napakagulo naman. Nagdala pa ng jowa yung iba dyan dun sa mga protest nila. And by the way, we're talking about just a few hundred people there na magulo na I just want to be nice. So this is not a reflection of democracy. Majority of Brazilians voted for Lula. So yung mga iba dyan, mga kaano dyan, alam nyo na, huwag kayong magulo dyan. Mga ano lang yan. These are criminals, no? Some would say these are terrorists, no? They're creating terror and attacking top institutions of the government, no? They're not even original. Ginaya nila halos yung January 6 lang ni pro-Trump people dyan sa United States. So, let me just put this one here. Saan yung link ulit? Ay, ito. Para na makita natin. Kaya nga sabi ko, maaga pa lang, gulo-gulo na. Ito. Ang gulo, grabe naman yun. Parang third world. Parang mga fifth world. Tapos tignan mo pa yung dalawa na yan, no? May holding hands pa sila na, nag-date pa tong dalawa na to. Tapos nakasuot pa sila ng mga Brazil shirts na. Siguro kung nanalang Brazil sa World Cup, ano na to. Ang gulo na yan. Now, obviously, Brazil is a big country, guys. It's one of the biggest democracies in the world. So seeing this right after the US the other year, medyo delikado. Yun ang sinasabi ko. Yun ang problema sa mga populists. When you put them in charge, tapos biglang di na sila nanalo or natalo sila, ay nako, dahil sa daming fake news conspiracy na sinasabi na, tutuloy lang nilang sistema. So, tingnan natin ang mangyari sa 2028 and beyond, no, just in case yung iba dyan hindi nanalo, tingnan natin ang gagawin nila, because at least these elections, kahit bitter yung isang side, naman bitter, disappointed, frustrated isang side, di naman sila ng gulo ng ganyan, diba? Anyway, thank you very much mga kameta, magpasalamat tayo, thank you very much, let's have more discussions about this soon. Magte-thank you lang ako dun sa mga followers natin as usual, I really appreciate that. Today mukhang marami na nanonood kasi mukhang many find this topic very relevant, very interesting. Magpasalamat ulit ako as usual kay Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberio, Eden Olonan, Mitch Tengcho, Riz Ani, Miro Chavez, ayan, mga usual suspects natin, Noemi Tablate, Michael Uwe. Thank you very much also yung mga new friends natin, Martin Panganiban, Zep Meya. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. Lee Reyes, Ryan Seldo Bakil. Yan, yung mga dami mga supporters natin dyan. I know the topic is a little bit, pati ako natatense na ako. You can see that, no? Kaya nga, we have to be very careful when we talk about these things, no? Because these are issues which have very serious national security implications. So, once we get more information, more data, more verified statements, data, etc., then we'll have more discussions about this. But I'm saying, just on the surface, this kind of Shakespearean reshuffling, court politics, etc., I'm not sure this is the best thing for the country at this point in time, especially so early into a new administration. But our best wishes to the current president in terms of getting things together and making sure we send the right signal to the world, to the investors, and also we make sure that in terms of civil-military relations, in terms of coherence of the government, it's something that's best for democracy or whatever is left of our democracy. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. God bless.